I remember it was 1972, and I was in my mom's study when she said, "You need a job. And I'm going to call my friend Johnny Loriaga and get you a job as a bank teller." My immediate response was, "I don't want to be a bank teller, Mom," and explained that I wanted to be in advertising, to which she replied, "You aren't smart enough to be in advertising." Well, I've come a long way since then. And tonight, I'd like to thank my mom for motivating me and the 4 people who are responsible for this incredible journey. Roger Livingston from Chiat Day Livingston, John Pius from Pius Schmidt Westerdahl, and Dan Wyden and David Kennedy. I'd also like to thank my family, my partner Fred, who is a saint. I've always told people Fred is way nicer than I am. And my 2 boys, Edge and Hyde, who aren't in therapy that I know of, even though one of them asked when he was in high school if I could be a normal mom. And finally, I'd like to thank the massive and amazing Wyden family I feel lucky to be a part of. I was able to work in the most of our 8 offices, and I'm grateful for all of them for letting me scream and somersault down their hallways. So how did this all happen? I'd like to say pure talent, and that would be a lie. I had a huge support group. The saying, "It takes a village," it took a village. You heard it all. But besides being so grateful, I wanted to say something to the industry. At every step, I never found this profession easy, but I look back on the earlier years and realize how much simpler it was. The world was just less complicated. I'm slightly over-exaggerating this, but I started my career 103 years ago, and we had 3 different media: print, out-of-home, and TV. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have data. We didn't have a lot of opinions. Hell, a fax machine was considered futuristic. It was just simpler times, and people weren't watching every move on social media, and fake news was less prevalent. It allowed us more fun, fail harder, scaring ourselves and clients, and being provocative, doing cartwheels and yelling at each other, and being honest and just downright crazy. And don't get me wrong, we are experiencing an amazing time. Technology has changed so much, and a lot for the better. We have new platforms in our sandbox. But keep it simple. This is what I wanted to talk about tonight. How do we keep things simple to do the best work of our lives? How do we make more? How do we slingshot our gut, intuition, and emotion into the forefront again? Without this, I'm afraid the Susan Hoffmans of the world will not be standing up here in the future. Because my work is based on gut, intuition, and emotion, I'm very right brain. Surprise. I have this analogy that I use when describing the work from Wyden Kennedy. When you look at a magazine, there are 2 parts. There's editorial and advertising. I've always strived to make sure the work at Wyden Kennedy feels like the editorial part and not the advertising part. The editorial part makes people feel something where the ads are strictly selling. Years ago, an editor from the Village Voice said she didn't like our Nike work because it made her feel something. Bingo. We knew we were on the right path. Emotion is a very powerful weapon. It gives us our edge. It gives us honesty and truth. Let's not destroy this with too many meetings and opinions and research and complexity. I don't know about you, but it confuses me. My brain just wants to jump off a cliff. Don't let our left brains take over. Don't let too much data, too many opinions and meetings suffocate creativity. Let's use our guts and intuition and emotion. Find that chord that excites and challenges us as humans. We aren't robots yet. Let's be a refuge for creativity, because creativity is timeless. Here's a quote I love from Dan. Look, if you are driving for excellence, let me suggest to tell your left brain to take a break now and then. I'm not kidding. If you want a creative organization capable of excellence, you have to allow the disorder, and you personally have to foster a relationship with anxiety and with unpredictability. Excellence is not a formula. Excellence is a grand experiment. It ain't mathematics, it's jazz. Thank you, Dan. I'd like to finish with a quote that I've always lived by, and it's been taped on my book, and it's in your program, and I said, don't put my name next to it. I want to be kind of provocative, that people didn't know what it was about. Anyway, that's from me. It's George Bernard Shaw quote. He once observed that all progress depends on the unreasonable man. His argument was that the reasonable man adapts himself to the world, while the unreasonable persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, for any change of consequence, we might look to the unreasonable man, or I must add, to the unreasonable woman. Thank you. Thank you, One Show, for honoring a short, ADD, spoiled, lucky, and just plain passionate person who only cares about doing great work. I really, really appreciate it. And here's to the unreasonable ones. P.S., one last thank you to Susan Creedle. When I need a Hollywood agent, I'm calling you. You put my name up, and you pulled me out of hiding, and her name is also Susan. And the only last thing I want to talk about is the importance of diversity. Let's start inspiring people other than us, and let's start inspiring women, and let's just see more diversity in this crowd. Thank you, thank you, thank you.